So in my mind, ladies and gentlemen, two of the most underrated actors and actresses, in my opinion, of our era joined together for this movie. Now, to say that Gregory Peck was underrated, he could do any part. But this one, especially Lee Remicky's co-star, probably the strongest tag team in any Satanic movie of all time, because it's so believable, them as a couple and them involved in this satanic panic. I think The Omen is better than The Exorcist, and if somebody doesn't believe me, well, too bad. Because Richard Donner hits it out of the park, was robbed of an Oscar as Best Director for this one. And David Seltzer, what a script. An international co-production of UK and United States and put BritHorror back on the map heavily. Again, stars Peck, Remick, the great David Warner, Harvey Spencer Stevens, his film debut, Billy Whitelaw, Patrick Troughton, Martin Benson, and Leo McKern. Always great. The film's plot follows Damien Thorne, a young child replaced at birth by his father, unbeknownst to his wife, after the biological child died shortly after birth. As a series of mysterious events and violent deaths occur around the family of Damien enters childhood, they come to learn he is in fact the prophesied Antichrist. And this was, again, 50 years before Donald Trump. Because, anyway, I'm not taking that back. I think he's the Antichrist. Released theatrically by 20th Century Fox in June 1976, The Omen received mixed reviews from critics, but it was a heavy commercial success, grossing over $60 million at the U.S. box office and became one of the highest grossing films of 1976. Retrospective reviews of the film have been favorable, and the film earned 2 Oscar nominations, including a win for Jerry Goldsmith's musical score. Now, the film spawned the Omen franchise with Damien Omen 2, released 2 years later, followed by The Final Conflict, and Omen 4 The Awakening, as well as a 2006 remake and 2024 prequel. It also spawned a 2016 television series that ran for 1 season on E&E. Sort of like beating a dead horse, but in this case, beating a dead mistress. Now in this one, American diplomat Robert Thorne and his wife Catherine live in Rome, where Catherine gives birth to a boy whom Robert is told died immediately. Hospital chaplain Father Spoleto persuades Robert to secretly adopt another baby whose mother has just died in childbirth. Robert does not tell Catherine that the child is not her own. They name him Damien. Now, it is Fox Rank Distributors production, 111 minutes. Can you believe it only cost $3 million to make? And it's all up on the screen. There's a very Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee kind of Hammer feel to it. 5 years later, Robert is ambassador to the United Kingdom in London, where mysterious phenomena begin playing the Thorns. A menacing Rottweiler appears at their home. Damien's nanny publicly hangs himself during his 5th birthday party. It's all for you. A new nanny named Mrs. Baylock arrives unexpectedly. Damien violently resists entering a church, and animals at a safari park are terrified by his presence. Father Brennan warns Robert about Damien's origins, hinting he's not human, insisting Robert take the Holy Communion. He tells Robert that Damien is the son of Satan, that Catherine is pregnant, and that Damien will kill his unborn sibling and parents. Later, Father Brennan is killed by a falling lightning rod. Very good scene, by the way. Catherine tells Robert she wants an abortion, which he opposes. Damien knocks Catherine over a railing to the floor below, injuring her and causing her to miscarry. A very well shot scene. Now in this one, David Warner plays photographer Keith Jennings. He notices shadows and photographs of the nanny and Father Brennan that presage their deaths. Keith shows Robert the photos along with news clippings and biblical passages from Father Brennan suggesting the coming of the Antichrist. He accompanies Robert to Rome to investigate Damien's birth. They learn that a fire destroyed the hospital, including Catherine's maternity records, and killed the staff on duty. They found Father Spoleto in a monastery, severely burned, mute, blind in one eye, and partially paralyzed. He directs them to the cemetery where Damien's biological mother is buried. In the grave of Damien's mother, Robert and Keith find a jackal carcass, and in the next plot, a child skeleton with a shattered skull. Robert realizes that this child was his own son, murdered so Damien could take his place. A pack of Rottweilers then drives Robert and Keith from the cemetery. Now, Robert calls Catherine in the hospital to tell her she must leave London. Before she can do, Mrs. Baylock throws Catherine to her death from the window of her room. Robert and Keith travel and meet with Antichrist exorcism expert Karl Bugenhagen in Israel, who says that if Damien is the true Antichrist, he will bear a birthmark in the shape of 3 sixes. Sammy Davis Jr. can say crazy, man, crazy. Carl gets Robert's not one, not two, not three, not five, but 7 daggers with which to kill Damien on hallowed ground. Robert refuses to do so, but Keith remains convinced of his necessity. Shortly afterward, Keith is decapitated by a sheet of glass from a truck. Horrified, Robert reluctantly accepts his task. Now, Peck plays this really like a diplomat, playing it straight. Now, the boys in Brazil, I think his performance in there was helped by the, what do you call, the evenness of his performance here. Gregory Peck was not an overactor, because you got Gregory Peck. For example, Kirk Douglas couldn't do this. He's the devil. And Marlon Brando sure is not going to do it. Charlton Heston, no way. He was a perfect person to play. And Lee Remick, luminous as usual, an aging beauty. But she plays it perfectly. And neither one was nominated. Go figure that. Now, Robert finds the birthmark on a sleeping Damien's scalp and is attacked by Mrs. Blaylock, who he fatally stabbed. Armed with the daggers, Robert drives Damien to a local cathedral. His erratic driving draws the attention of the police. Robert drags the screaming Damien onto the altar to kill him and begs God to forgive him. But the police arrive on the scene and shoot him as he brandishes the dagger. The double funeral is eventually attended by the U.S. President and the First Lady, thus the Antichrist's rise. As the camera pans out, it is revealed that the funeral is Robert and Catherine's. Meanwhile, Damien, standing with the first couple, turns and smiles at the camera. So, according to producer Harvey Bernard, the idea of the motion picture by the Antichrist came after a discussion about the Bible with Bob Munger, a friend of Bernard's. When Munger told him about the idea in 1973, the producer immediately contacted screenwriter David Seltzer and hired him to write a screenplay. It took a year for Seltzer to write the script. Now, the film was considered by Warner's, but the project did not move forward until optioned by the great Alan Ladd Jr. of 20th Century Fox. Seltzer and Donner differed over the film's message. The great Richard Donner favored an ambiguous reading of a script under which would be left for the audience to decide whether Damien was the Antichrist or whether the series of vital deaths in the film were all just a string of unfortunate accidents. Now, in The Exorcist, it's pretty well the demon working on behalf of Satan, but this is the real fucking deal. Now, I know people got physically ill watching The Exorcist, but people really were mind-fucked over The Omen, because being Satanists like Anton LaVey, Sammy Davis Jr., Jane Mansfield's type of Satanism was kind of a groovy thing. Hey man, crazy man. Now, Seltzer rejected the ambiguity favored by Donner and passed for interpretation of his script that left no doubt the audience that Damien Thorne was the Antichrist and all the deaths of the film were caused by the power of Satan, the interpretation that Bernard chose to go with. Now, Peck, according to Bernard, had been the only choice to play Ambassador Thorne from the beginning. Peck got involved with the project through his agent, who was friends with producer Bernard. After reading the script, he reported like the idea was more of a psychological thriller rather than a horror film. Yes, it's a satanic film noir. They agreed to star in it. Now, Oliver Reed was considered. He would have been tremendous, and William Holden all have been approached. Of course, he did Damien Omen too. A film offer was made, of course, to Charlton Heston in July 1975. He turned down a part on July 27th, not wanting to spend the entire winter alone in Europe, and also concerned that the film may have an exploitive feel if not handled character correctly. Other people to be considered was Roy Scheider, Dick Van Dyke, of all people, and Charles Bronson. Van Dyke turned down the role because of the violence and gore. He would later call the decision stupid. According to separate interviews with Donner and Harvey Stevens, over 500 boys had been auditioned for the role of Damien. The then 4-year-old Stevens won the role after Donner encouraged the boys to attack him during a group audition, following which Stevens reportedly clawed at Donner's face and kicked him in the balls. Because Stevens had curly blonde hair, Donner had Stevens' hair straightened and dyed black and gave him color contacts to make him look scarier. Now, considered by many a horror classic, now he said it was heavily influenced by Kolchak, the Night Stalker, and all in the West. Now, the success of the film in 1976 may have been due to a sense of a growing fear in the West at the time. 1976 was a bad year coming out of the Israeli war. The 200th anniversary of the States, allegedly, gas wars and all kind of stuff. As film critic John Kenneth Muir wrote, what if the Bible is correct? What if all the signs of the apocalypse are happening around about now? The only people who didn't like it were atheists, and he never went to the movie. But you were a guilt Christian, as we say it goes. Now, Avas Satani, the Omen soundtrack, where he had the theme song, was composed by the great Jerry Goldsmith, for which he received the only Oscar of his great career. The score features a strong choral segment with a foreboding Latin chant. According to Goldsmith's wife, Carol, the composer initially struggled with the ideas from War until one evening when he suddenly happily announced to her, "Get this, I hear voices," and that's where she went. Now, referring to an orchestral chorus or choir, the Latin of the song contains some errors. Again, one of them is, "We drink the blood," must be "Sanguinem bibimus." Also, "Hail Satan, Ave Santana," vocative form. And as for "Ave versus Christus," is nonsense in Latin. The correct term is "Ave Antichriste," vocative form of Antichristus, the Latin name for the biblical Antichrist. So it's almost like, Pig Latin, how it's going. But the thing is, it scared people so much, they went to basically every movie, and they knew all the key elements. Now, The Omen was released following a successful $2.8 million marketing campaign inspired by the one from Jaws 1 year prior, with 2 weeks of sneak previews, a novelization by screenwriter David Seltzer, and a logo with 666 inside the film's title as a centerpiece of the advertisement, which was tremendous, because original posters are worked quite a bit. An early screening of the film took place in numerous cities on June 6, 76. Now, the film opened in the States and Canada June 25, 76 at Weimar 16 theaters, a significant commercial success. It grossed nearly $5 million its opening weekend, a dead record for Fox, and a total of $60.9 million, equivalent to $334 million in 2024, generating theatrical rentals of $28.5 million in the States and Canada. Now, worldwide, it earned rentals of $46.3 million from a budget of $2.8. In the States, the film was the sixth highest grossing movie of 76. Now, during its release in South Africa under the apartheid regime, the publication of Approval Board cut the final scene showing the killing of Robert Thorne and Damien's survival. Now, Richard Eder of the New York Times called it a dreadfully silly film, but reasonably well placed. Variety praised Richard Donner's direction as taut, and the performance is that strong, and noted that the script, sometimes too expository, too predictable, too contrived, nonetheless a good connective fiber. Roger Ebert didn't like it, gave it a 2.5 out of 4, and so did Siskel. He said it had a firepower soundtrack and several memorable scenes, but finding the story goofy. Now, in 78, 2 years after its release, The Omen was also included in Harry Medved and Harry Dreyfuss's book, The 50 Worst Films of All Time. It was the most recent movie featured. Now, that's revisionist history. This movie isn't bad. It's just very, very good. Now, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has an approval rating of 85%, based on 53 reviews, an average rating of 7.2. The site's consensus reads, The Omen eschews an excessive gore in favor of ramping up the suspense and creates an enduring, dread-soaked horror classic along the way. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 62 out of 100, based on 11 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Now, as we go along, the Omen was ranked number 81 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills. The score for Jerry Goldsmith was nominated as AFI's 100 Years of Film Scores. The film was ranked 16 on Bravo's 100 Scariest Movies. Now, the film was criticized by the Catholic Church, which accused it of misrepresenting Christian theology. On the other hand, some Protestant groups praised the film, and the California Graduate School of Theology in Glendale presented the filmmakers with a special award during its 77 commencement ceremonies. So the Protestants loved it, and the Catholics said, well, we could have done it better. Now, no Oscar nominations for Remick, no Oscar nominations for Peck, no Oscar nominations for Richard Donner, and no Oscar nominations for Satan. Anyway, at the BAFTAs, Billy Whitelaw got a Best Supporting Actress nomination. Goldsmith was nominated for Best Original Song and Best Original Score. British Society of Cinematographers, Best Cinematography, Gilbert Taylor. Edgar Allan Poe Award, Best Screenplay, David Seltzer nominated. Evening Standard British Film Awards, Best Actress, Billy Whitelaw. He wasn't lead. Golden Globe Awards, Best Acting Debut Male, Harry Stevens. Grammy Award, Best Album Original Score, nominated Jerry Goldsmith. Saturn Awards, Best Horror Film, The Omen. But he did win Best Actor in a Horror Film by Gregory Peck. He won it. Now, this was some of the earliest VHS releases of all time. Released on VHS by 20th Century Home Video in 1980. A VHS release was by Fox was reignited in 2000. There was also a special edition DVD that year, as well as in the 4-film set that included 3 sequels. A newly restored 2-disc collector's edition DVD of the film was issued in 2006, coincided with the release of the remake. Now, released on Blu-ray in October 28 as part of the Omen quadrilogy. And Scream Factory did release a deluxe edition box set featuring the original film along with all 3 sequels and a remake, and featuring numerous newly commissioned bonus materials. The Scream Factory releases a new 4K restoration of the original film elements. Now, pretty well bypass anything with the past part 3, but I'm telling you something, ladies and gentlemen. Gregory Peck, where's his nomination? I mean, I know he won an Oscar before Killing Mockingbird. For a lot of people, this is just a strong performance as a Killing Mockingbird, because you're getting Gregory Peck. He's the only person that's fighting against Satan that's still alive. And he killed off Gregory Peck at the end. I mean, it takes a lot of fucking balls, man. It takes lots of balls. So whether you believe Trump is the Antichrist, we saw the old Damien back in the day. But on the North Shore of New Brunswick, it's a double Antichrist. We believe he's a North Shore Antichrist, and he's an Antichrist. Well, maybe when they're saying Obama was the Antichrist, Obama was just black. The Antichrist is not black. The Antichrist will rise through lies and deceit and will embrace Israel and will embrace Babylon. Well, what the fuck you think is going on now? He may not be the Antichrist, but maybe the Bible is saying, well, there could be someone coming up right before the big guy, so. And I don't think the Antichrist plays golf, so it depends. But just because someone's a complete fucking asshole like the cocksucker in the South there, it doesn't, But I believe he's the Antichrist, but my opinion doesn't really matter, does it? So, because I'm just an Acadian Jew. Just trying to promote a movie by Gregory Peck. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like The Omen, tell me what you like. I'm leaving the comments open. But anybody who starts bullshitting about me talking about Donald Trump, you will be forever barred from my channel. So choose your words carefully. And like we say in the North Shore, keep your stick in the ice. Have a good one.